everyone. Welcome to the Shandy. A while back, I was browsing Facebook when I came across a post that had something to do with the police and this acronym, ACAB. I had no idea what that meant, and so I Googled it, and of course it means all cops are bastards. The interesting thing to me about it is the person who posted it was a self-professed communist. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized this belief is really common among self-professed communists. So why am I telling you this? Well, there's a contradiction in there. It might not seem like it on the surface, but there really is a contradiction in ACAB if you're a communist. And this is going to sound like it goes off topic and I ramble a little bit, and I apologize for that, but I promise it's all necessary to bring together the final conclusion, so please bear with me. So first off, I wanted to show all these communists professing ACAB. Unfortunately, it's been a while since I saw that Facebook post that I was talking about, so I don't have any screenshots or anything of it, but I did do a quick search through Twitter, and I found these that are on screen right now in about 15 minutes. It was pretty easy. We can sit here and argue about the influence of these people. They only have so many followers, they only get so many likes. Their reach is irrelevant. The point is simply that a non-insignificant proportion of communists believe ACAB, and a non-insignificant population of ACABers are also communists. So why does this matter? Again, there's a contradiction between the ideas of communism and ACAB. It doesn't seem like it necessarily on the surface, but it's there, and the purpose of this video is to uncover that contradiction, so buckle up. Before we get any farther, I have to dig a little bit deeper into the background of communism so we understand the framework that we're working in. Karl Marx envisioned a utopian, classless, and stateless society forming in the future as the result of a revolution amongst the workers of the world to overthrow the bourgeoisie capitalist class. In order to do so, the workers and working class of society needed to form a party of the proletariat, or a party to be the vanguard of the revolution. Once the revolution had toppled the previous systems of government, then the party of the proletariat would institute the dictatorship of the proletariat. Basically, that country is now run by the Workers' Party in a government set up by the Workers' Party, which would work towards the abolition of class and then eventually the state. Now, while Marx did advocate for these ideas and these revolutions, his ideas were labeled more as predictions about how capitalism would eventually fail, especially how the workers as a class would unite to support the revolution. In regards to his predictions, Marx was mostly wrong. There were plenty of people who could easily be defined as proletariat that didn't agree with the revolution and still don't to this day. And this is important, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, let's talk about how Marx formulated the result of the initial revolution. So let's assume we have a country, and it's about to have a proletarian revolution as Marx predicted. Let's call this country Workistan. With the current system overthrown, it's now time for the Workers' Party to establish the dictatorship of the proletariat. One of the main jobs of the dictatorship of the proletariat is to control the proceeds of labor. These are things that include products made in factories or food grown on farms, for example. The dictatorship of the proletariat then distributes the proceeds of labor in the following priority: replacement of resources used during production, expansion of further production, insurance funds, basically the rainy day fund, administrative costs, public services, and funds for those physically incapable of working. And then finally, whatever is left over should be shared amongst the workers. So, what's the problem here? Well, in the context of this video, the problem is found in this question. What happens if someone does not want to contribute their proceeds of labor? Well, let's think about it. Two things basically could happen. The first thing is nothing. The current state, the dictatorship of the proletariat, allows this person or people to continue on as normal. I would argue this is unlikely due to history, for example, kulaks in the Soviet Union, and in theory as well. Why would the dictatorship of the proletariat that just worked so hard to overthrow an, in their formulation, uncooperative, unfair, and oppressive system allow someone to profit without contributing their share to the revolution? The short answer is they probably won't. Also, if the proletariat allows one person to not contribute to the revolution, what is to stop others from joining them? The other action that the dictatorship of the proletariat could take is come and take the proceeds of labor. And this is what we usually see in history. For example, the Chinese Communist Party and the Soviet Union. Some of you might already be able to see where I'm going with this, but just to be 100% clear, that there is where the contradiction lives. The reaction of the dictatorship of the proletariat to non-participants of the revolution. So let's follow this line of logic to the end. What will happen if a farmer chooses not to contribute their proceeds of labor? Well, representatives of the state arrive to collect these proceeds. But what happens if the farmer still refuses? For this thought experiment, we will say this farmer is particularly uncooperative. Well, representatives of the proletariat could leave or say, do it anyway. And the next ingredient required here is force. Because the only way that the farmer can be made to give up his proceeds of labor is to say that there will be consequences for that choice. In all instances, the representatives of the proletariat must take the proceeds by force, because if the farmer attempts to stop them and they do nothing, then the representatives have failed in that mission. So they must detain, restrain, beat, or even kill the farmer in order to collect the proceeds of labor. So let me summarize. Representatives of the proletariat will come and take the proceeds of labor and will do so with the threat of force as the means of backing that claim. That's the police. There is no functional difference with this scenario than one where police show up at your door and arrest you for not paying taxes. That is policing. You can call it whatever fancy name you want, but that's just the police. So what does this mean? This means that the communist revolution requires the use of police to enforce the dictatorship of the proletariat. Regardless of whatever flavor of communism you subscribe to end up at the utopian, classless, stateless society requires the enforcement of the dictatorship of the proletariat in order to succeed. And therefore, you need police to do the enforcing. Anyone who is a communist, or has a hammer and sickle in their profile picture, and screams ACAB and calls people bootlickers for having any lukewarm feeling towards the police is either disingenuous, doesn't understand what communism is, and just thinks it's edgy and cool, or is an idiot. Thank you for your time watching. Take care.